And here we have the Geshtar Dreadnought. It is an enormous ship. It's 40 some inches long, 17 or so inches wide at the widest part, and it has 5 and a bit fully playable levels. So the top here includes a helm and a little, I don't know, captain's quarters or command room or something. Each of the levels, including this roof, is magnetized down, so it's reasonably secure while you are playing on it. There is a grid carved into each of the levels as well. It's available without that if you would like it, but I usually default to that. It makes it a lot more playable of a piece. There are a variety of hard points for each of these. All the way in the back here, we have a couple of engines. These are magnetized hard points. And there are either a pair of these spell thrusters or a pair of propeller engines. There are also 2 different types of engines for these side mounts. And each of those engines have those same options. They have a pair of holes drilled in them with some corresponding brass pegs. They are also magnetized, so they go on there. They also have a numbering and orientation marker carved into them, which you can kind of see in there. So this is number 2, and there's an arrow. You can see that this one is also number 2 and has an arrow, so you know which way to put those on. You can glue those on with whichever you want for those, or you can just kind of hot swap them. It's sort of up to you. You can also even do just a tiny dab of super glue on them to hold them on, and then swap them out as needed. There are 2 big bottom mounts here. There are 2 large solarite crystals, and these do magnetize right on underneath here. So that guy magnetizes over there. This guy is actually orientable in either direction. Both of them are actually, but this one, there are only 3 magnets on there, and there's 4 on the actual piece, so it can go either way, and it too will magnetize right up under there. So you can have one or the other or both of these big solarite crystals to make it float. And then up here at the front, we have a couple of the cannon options. These you might have some trouble. They're a little front heavy. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Again, you might just toss on a little tiny dab of super glue on the magnets and then just break them off when you want to swap them out. That would be sort of my suggestion on those. And then there is a dual spell cannon. There is a single spell cannon option and a boarding hook option. There are also, for any of the hard points that you don't want to use, there are plenty of these little end caps that are magnetizable on there. So you can, if the crew or if your party gets the ship and doesn't have all the stuff for all the different hard points, you can just cover those up and you won't have a big unsightly magnet on there. On the top deck, it is designed for these dragon cannons. The fully assembled version comes with a full set of these guys. So there are, I believe, 10 of those. And then we'll go on to the next level. And here is the second level in here. Most of this is a gun deck, but there's a little sort of forward observation deck up here too. You could theoretically have some guns pointing out of there, though you'd probably have to make some kind of little mounting point for them, but there are some nice little portholes in there that go all the way through. This section actually gets completely different set of cannons. There's these large cannons. So 4 going on either side for those. And there is, again, a full complement of 8 of those in here. I've only installed 1 door so far because, again, they all need to come out before shipping, so they're there. But the doors are fully functional and fairly modular. I include a few different options for the doors. There are a lot of doors for this model, so each level has several of its own doors and all that fun stuff. So there's a few rooms back here, a couple of big kind of cargo-y type areas. Maybe set this up as like a ship's magazine or something, because there's a big deck of heavy cannons here, and then, you know, forward observation post or something there. And here we have level 3. There's a few more staterooms on each side, a nice big cargo hold here in the back, and then you have these big cargo doors here, and there's this little walkway here that actually cuts down into there. Down on the next level, you can see the big cargo doors that go in those sections, and there's a nice cutout in this level to kind of go through it. There's a few more staterooms up here. That's what most of that is, and there's some exterior doors there. And here we have level 4. There are a couple of large rooms back here, and then this has the big cargo doors. They do move. And a big cargo hold here. A bunch of smaller rooms in the middle here that are nice and interesting. And up here are the first of the controls for these spell cannons. So those are those cannon mounts or weapon mounts that are up front. So there are some controls that go along with each of those. There's also a little control lever for each of the doors up there. And then up front here, there is this sort of irregularly shaped room that you can sort of look through the dragon's eyes for the masthead. In the back on the outside, you can see the first of the weapon mounts, and so there's some of those, that, you know, big giant magical cabling for however that works. One thing that I do with the larger assembled ships that I don't necessarily include with the build your own kits that I also sell is I assemble all of these large ships like the Geshtar and the big Sindar Navy Roshan cruiser and all of those. I assemble those with brass rod instead of just with filament in all of the alignment pegs. It really firms up the ship and makes it a lot more robust. So that's one thing that can happen with these, especially with these long levels and on areas where you don't have walls, like on that top level and like right here. There's a joint right here that doesn't really have a wall. It's got these big doors. That can kind of get flimsy and not feel real secure with those plastic alignment pins. With the brass ones, they are very secure, so they should be pretty robust with that. And here we have level 5. There we go. There's a couple of rooms back here with all of the various engine components. So there are some engines on the inside here, a couple in the back here, and a couple on the side linked to those little side doodads with the cabling. Neat little detailing there. A few more just kind of engineering type rooms. This is all, instead of in the wood paneling of most of the rest of the ship, this is all in that like iron plate looking walls and flooring. So that'll give you a slightly different thing. This is also up front here is another gun deck level, and that uses yet another kind of cannon. There's 14 of these that are included that go in there and let those poke through. So you actually have 3 levels of gun decks, each with a different kind of gun, which is kind of fun. And because, again, this is kind of an over-the-top ship, there is a significant number of cannons. So that is a full complement of cannons for the ship. And again, there are doors for all of the doorways with some options and everything. There is one more bit of a level in the keel. There is a room up under here. We're actually going to move that a bit here. This bottom level is a little tricky to lift off. It's a little finicky and a little, especially when you put it on, you kind of have to put it on from the back and slide it in. These mounts here, if I can get this to lift up right, separate, you can see that the mount itself is part of the bottom, and there's a plate for it to seat down into. So it basically just put the level on further back than you'd think. You don't want to try and push it down and get the front piece here caught on this, because if you press down on it, you can break the levels. You'll want to be a little careful with that. And then you can see there is indeed a single room down here in the keel, in the front. Underneath that, that could be any of a variety of things. It could be like a little brig, or you know, more engineering spaces, or whatever you want it to be. But as you can see, this is an exceptionally large ship. It's really a dungeon unto itself. You know, you could certainly have a multi-session dungeon just taking place on this ship, and you know, have it be very satisfying, all painted up and everything. So that's it.